Bonjour, Cody Chesnutt.
Bonjour.
So I'm not going to ask you what did you do for the last 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Am I the first one to ask you?
I think you're the first one that didn't. Maybe there was another.
Okay,
yes.
So I'm the second. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it's funny because we met Gary Clark Jr. Last month. And
Wow.
he told us that he met you long time ago in Austin when he was a kid.
Yes.
And meeting you for him was like, it opened his mind. He says that he was really trapped in this like kind of blue stuff. And he said, yeah, this encounter was really essential for me. And he told me, Cody Chesnutt told me, yes, go man, go where you want to go and don't try to think too much about that stuff. And he helped him a lot. Awesome. So I wanted to ask you this question. Did you have an encounter when you were a young boy, or I don't know, teenager, regarding somebody you met or which helped you to try to become musically yourself?
If I had to cite anybody, it was one of my uncles. I have quite a few uncles that are very, musically talented. But there's one uncle in particular that always encouraged me to write. The one thing that sticks with me and that I always share with other writers is that don't stop writing. And this particular uncle has a wide palette of music. He really he's a music aficionado. He really loves music. So he would, as a kid, he would play all these different artists and different
any genres, different genres and
stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, all the fundamental soul, from Motown, classic stacks, all those things. But at the same time, he would bring in the Beatles, the Stones, pop compositions, Burt Bacharach and things like that. So I believe that's what I got my understanding of endless creativity or boundless creativity. So it would be that uncle that encouraged me to, create and express, the music and the songs as they came to me.
Were you very open-minded even when you were a kid regarding musical styles and genres?
Absolutely. Because as I said, I grew up in the house where I heard everything. I mean, literally everything. I also have another uncle that played classical piano. So I had that influence around, not really realizing it at the time, but that was a part of my schooling, so to speak, because that's really where I learned it all, just right there in the family, taking in everything that inspired everybody else.
It seems that the Headphone Masterpiece was a bit ahead of his time, because in 2002, the way you approach soul music, more like, let's say, not vintage, but more like how soul music and funk music was made like more in the 70s, was not very hype at that time. And today there's like, since the last 5 years, there's a lot of revival from like Amy Winehouse to the, Deftones, Crew and all that. So how do you see this album retrospectively?
Well, I don't know if it was ahead of its time. I felt like it was the right time when I released it. But it's a great thing that people still draw inspiration from it, and I still see it as an exciting, pivotal moment in my career, because what that did for me, it opened me up and allowed me to understand that, okay, well, there are no boundaries to creativity, capture it the way that you feel it, capture the way that you imagine it, and it also, I find it still a constant reminder that honesty, and spontaneity, resonates deeply, with the listener. So I try to think about how impactful that was for me, and I try to, to bring that to the writing process for me now. That's what it still teaches me now, to just remember, okay, you can just be completely open and honest and sincere about what you're feeling.
It's interesting to see these two albums with this big 10 years gap in between, because it's really two snapshots of, it's still the same person, but it's two different of you. You were young, you were in California, I think.
Yes.
You were a bit into drugs and all that. It was like a more rock and roll stuff, and now you're more like a father and all that.
Right.
So you think that to be good, an album has to be a snapshot of the person, of his creator at the time.
I think it's a good thing if they can. It doesn't have to be, because once again, there are no rules in art, but it's a good thing if you can actually capture what it is you're feeling inside, or capture where you're really living. It's a great thing to have a moment crystallized, you know, in a photo or in a song. So I think it's a great thing if you can do it.
And also two different is that the first one you were just by yourself in your room with no money.
Exactly.
Now you have a bit more. You had more money to do this one, and to a producer and studios and all that. Does that mean that your approach of songwritings and the way you imagine sounds is different when you know that you're going to have a budget and when you know that you're going to have nothing?
Well, going into the process, I didn't think about, you know, what kind of monetary resources were going to be available. I just knew I wanted to hear more music. And, you know, and I made it possible initially, you know, by making sure I had, you know, some money set aside, you know, to record the new project. I didn't know how much it was going to take. But initially, it was just really about capturing the idea, you know, and really seeing those things manifest. I heard more music this time, and I heard a wider landscape or soundscape, you know. So I wasn't quite sure how it was going to happen, but you know, I knew that's what I wanted to capture. So when I wrote the songs, I had, you know, horns in mind, and I thought strings would be good here, or you know, backing vocals would be great there, you know. So yeah, it was kind of all there. I knew I wanted to expand the sound more.
Was there a trap in the fact that there was you didn't record so much during the 10 years? So this album could have been like a compilation of what you did for like 10 years, but it doesn't seem like that. It's more like a 2012 album than like a one decade album.
Thank you. You're saying that's what it feels like? Yeah, I think it came together that way because, you know, I genuinely wanted to be aligned with the energy of right now, you know, and to try to stay in tune with the things that are really relevant and that are really pressing, just on a human level. And I think that's why it doesn't feel like 10 years, because certain basic fundamental things, you know, never really change when it comes to the human spirit. So, yeah, I just stayed open until it all took shape, which was about maybe 4.5, 5 years ago, when they really came together. And the last 2.5 years is when, you know, I really kind of fine-tuned things along with the other musicians and recorded it. But yeah, I just wanted to be, you know, aligned with what I felt was going on socially right now in my immediate environment, and you know, community and globally.
There's a lot of people who just knew you through the seed revisited by the roots.
Right.
Was there like frustration that for a lot of people you were just the guy of this song and they were not really into what you did before or whatever? Was there like a frustration?
No frustration at all, because at the end of the day, you know, I knew at the core of it, it was still my song and you know, an experience that was close to me. So it was fine, you know, if people only know that song, that's great, you know, but that was a song that came from my heart. And so, and it touched a lot of people, so I'm cool with it one way or the other. As long as, you know, the music is touching somebody. It doesn't matter if it's the whole album or if it's one song. Either way, I felt something inside and I wanted to get it out. And what I got out, you know, touched people, so I'm cool with that.
You still in touch with them?
Every now and again I may talk to them. We haven't spoken maybe... The last time we spoke was when they were working on The Tipping Point a few years back. But I'll be seeing them soon in November.
To do something, maybe?
You know, they're on the Jimmy Fallon show.
Oh, yeah.
So we're supposed to do that. So
yeah, they have a band of the show. When people, I mean, start doing like rock music or soul music or funk music, they're young and they have like a certain hungriness in it. So it's like... It's the beginning in general of the story, and then after people age, and then you have to find another way to push you to do creation in music. Was it easy for you to find this this energy, this inspiration to still create, or did you have some time during your life where you lose all that?
I never lost it. Never lost it. It was just redirected, you know, because I have 2 children. So a lot of my energy went into that, you know, getting to know them, building that bond, that relationship. And out of that, I got a clearer consciousness. You know, it allowed me to see things in a different way. And that inspired me to approach the writing, you know, from an even more pure perspective. And so it was never forced, it was never lost. It was really just about the timing of it all and allowing, you know, the real life experiences to unfold and to reveal itself. And I was, you know, just open enough just to capture it as it came. You know, I didn't really chase anything or try to force. I need to do something before people forget, or you know, I need to find the muse again. It was never like that, you know. I just really took it one day at a time until I had something that felt, you know, felt real to me.
So you recorded in Memphis in Willie Mitchell's studio.
Right.
Was it like going to the Mecca, doing in a place
you
like
know
that?
What? I didn't think about it until we walked in after we heard that they had the best rates. You know, I was looking forward to going to it, you know, to that studio, but it wasn't until we actually walked through the doors that we actually felt, you know, what we were coming into. And everybody, I mean everybody in the band, as soon as we walked in, exactly. especially the control room. You know, when we first walked into the door, there was a huge, beautiful black and white photo of Willie Mitchell with his trumpet. But you go to the left and you go to the control room and you open these doors up and it's like, wow, everything is still the same. The acoustic treatment, you know, and
it's his son. No, his son is
Boo Mitchell.
Yeah,
Boo Mitchell, which engineered the basic tracks. Yeah, everybody walked in, man, and everybody could feel it, you know. And so we were taken back maybe 15 to 20 minutes, you know, just taking it all in and trying to really absorb what it was that we're about to do. But I would like to say that morning really was the real kickoff. We went to the hotel where Dr. King was assassinated, the Lorraine Motel. And it seemed like at that place, everybody became kind of spiritually centered. Like, you know, we understand the mission now as musicians to try to bring as much of this culture and honor and everything to this recording. And that visit at the Lorraine Motel, along with the spirit of Royal Studios, is what I think enhanced the performance on the record.
Was it easy to find a good balance? Because the beginning was your songs. So something very personal, just you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you mentioned like two stories, two places, which are very essential in the history for the world.
Exactly.
So it goes from you to the whole world. So how do you adapt all that, and how do you try to find yourself? I mean, you mentioned that it was just like everybody seems like focused and all that. Does that mean that during the recording, some stuff there was like evolution in the songs in themselves, in the way you wanted them to sound and all that?
Well, we already had a pretty firm grasp on how we wanted it to sound, but I think, once again, the energy in the room and the experience from Dr. King's museum just had everybody in a type of mindset that what we're doing is important, you know, it's very important culturally. And it seemed to just keep it seemed to put everybody on their game. You know, they were at the top of their game in terms of communication. You know, everybody was really wide open for the music to be well communicated. And so yeah, it was really musically it was no more than what we had already, you know, worked on, but it was just the spirit in which it was performed is what I think the greatest change was.
Patrice is working on the production of the album?
Yes.
But did you work together, or?
That was our first time working together. I met Patrice in Cologne in 2010 on the first time we played the music out in Europe. had an issue with my kick drum at the show, and so the promoter knew Patrice, and he said, well, I know this guy with a lot of gear and equipment. So he called Patrice, and Patrice said, sure, I'll bring it right over. And so he brought the drum, and we had a small chat. We talked, and he said he was interested in working with me, that he liked the Headphone Masterpiece and wanted to do something with me in the future. And I told him, well, I was open to, working with a producer on this new album. And we hit it off. We connected, and by April of 2011, we had begun work on Landing on 100. Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you, did you have the sound in mind of all these new songs when you wrote them? You knew regarding the texture, the sound texture you wanted, and all that in mind from day one?
Yes, I knew what I wanted it to feel like, because I've been listening to all the great classics.
Because it's funny, because even if it's sure that it's deep-rooted in the, we can call the classic soul and funk and all that, it still have a 2012 sound. It doesn't sound like an old stuff from the 70s that we found suddenly, like it really sound. So how was it? It could have been like you could have been trapped in like this vintage sound and all that. So you have to adapt.
The whole thing was, let's bring the spirit of those times to the recording, but let's record with, the energy of now. And so Patrice was very instrumental, along with the other producers that worked with us. Matthew John was very instrumental in capturing, just real strong textures that resonate with the energy of the 21st century right now.
How was it growing up in Atlanta, musically?
It was beautiful, man, beautiful.
So was this uncle you mentioned? This
uncle? Yeah, it was a very, very lighthearted, soulful times, man. I remember the music making just the sunlight feel like it was more golden. It just had a very rich feeling about it.
You're a bit nostalgic of that time, in a way?
Say again?
You feel a bit nostalgic?
Absolutely.
Some nostalgia?
Absolutely, because I think a lot of our children, they're missing out on some of that, because the music plays a very important role in your environment and how you feel about your environment. And so the music then, I think, touched children and inspired children differently than what children may absorb now, especially in the inner cities. But I just think, it was a very loving time in Atlanta. I have no awful memories about it. Great place.
You have an helmet on the cover of the album. You feel like a soldier in a way.
Indeed. In my opinion, that there's a lot that is missing, in the music, and the conversations that I would like to hear in the music, I don't find. So it's like me being a soldier on my own front line, or the front line of these issues that are real to me, fighting for that, fighting to preserve it, and fighting to, keep it in the forefront, of the consciousness of what's happening right now.
Is there some musician or bands of today that you feel close to on the musical side, or spiritual side? Or not that much.
Yeah. There are a few, right off. There's a great artist out of the Bay Area in back home in the States, Martin Luther, Lauryn Hill, Yasin Bey, Mos Def, to mention a few. There Jill Scott. There are quite a few.
Is it true that you worked for Death Row for a couple of times, the label? Death
yes.
Row? Yeah.
They were venturing out into the pop world. Yeah. Aside from the Snoop and Dre albums that had become pop music, basically. They had a boy band like Boys to Men. Do you remember Boys to Men? Yeah. So they had their own.
Their own Boys to Men. Yeah.
So again, they wanted their own version of Boys to Men, which one of my cousins just happened to be in.
What was the name of the band?
The name of the group was 6 Feet Deep, and the concept came from the fact that all the guys were over 6 feet tall. So 6 Feet Deep was going to be Death Row's version of Boyz II Men. And so my cousin told Suge Knight, you know, the owner of Death Row, about me as a writer. And he brought me to LA after he heard some of the tunes and told me that he wanted me to help develop them. And so I wrote with them for maybe 2 or 3 months. Yeah, and that was the extent of it. Had the opportunity to sing with Tupac on one of his sessions because the singing group was cutting some vocals for him, so I sang with him for one of his records. But that was pretty much, you know, my Death Row experience. Yeah, but it was cool though, you know.
It was cool.
Yeah,
working with Suge Knight.
Yeah. Contrary to his public persona,
he was a cool guy.
He was really cool. You know, had no issues personally. He always took care of business. So, yeah.
Cool. So, what's going to be next for you? I mean, I hope so. We're not going to wait 10 more years.
Right.
Do you already have in mind stuff that you want to do, even if the new album is just going to be released?
I've already begun to document, you know, maybe 6 songs, you know, kind of working on some ideas for the next project. So I don't think it'll be 10 years. I think, you know, maybe 2 to 3 years, another project out.
Okay. What kind of listener are you? Do you listen to a lot of stuff when you're at home or when you travel or all that, or you have like phases?
Yeah, it's really about phases, man, you know, because I'm always listening to what's in my head. You know, I have so much music going on in my head.
The radio is always turned on?
Exactly. You know, my wife will tell you, you know, it's just like the writing never stops. You know, even now I'm writing, you know, but there are things that I like to take on the road with me. You know, I listen to a lot of music when I'm driving, but most of the time, you know, I kind of listen to things, you know, in passing and in different phases. I may put some vinyl on and listen to it. An album that I rediscovered, I heard as a kid, was the album Curtis Mayfield wrote for the movie Sparkle.
Sparkle, Aretha Franklin. Yeah, it's amazing, yeah.
It's an amazing record. Yeah. And I knew it was amazing when I was a child.
Very underrated. Yeah.
Oh my God. I listen to that now. It's like, this is amazing, man.
So regarding albums of other people, give me like 5 desert island albums that you have in mind.
Oh man, I'm not good at this.
Maybe it's gonna change tomorrow, but just today.
Yeah, today.
Give me 5 that you think about.
Let's see here. Okay, that will be one.
Okay.
Aretha Franklin's version, or Curtis Mayfield version of Sparkle. Off the Wall. Songs in the Key of Life. What's Going On. And who else? Both Sides of Sam Cooke.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cody Chesnutt.
Merci. Merci beaucoup.